friends, and welcome back to my homestead. Today I'm going to be making goat's cheese out of goat's milk, and I have this beautiful raw milk from my goat that I've been milking. So if you know my story, I usually don't milk my goats because this is a meat breed that I have, Boer goats. But one of the mamas was only nursing from one side, and the problem was that the other side was getting engorged because the baby wasn't touching it. So I needed to milk it to relieve the pressure, and I was getting 1.5 cups, 2 cups a day. So I need to do something with that milk, and nobody likes to drink goat milk in my house. So I've decided to make cheese, and I'm going to make a very simple Colby cheese. Colby cheese is probably one of the easiest cheeses to make at home, but you're still going to need to use some little culture, little things. So let me show you the things we're going to need. We're going to be needing milk, and I have 1 gallon of milk, so I have 4 quarts here for my recipe. I'm going to be needing culture, and I have a mesophilic culture, and I will put a link in my video where I got it from, but it comes in a little packets, looks like little I don't know, like a little powder almost. This is the culture we're gonna need. We're gonna need some calcium chloride. Now you can probably get away without using, but for goat's milk it's better to use calcium chloride to create that good firm little curds for the cheese. And we're going to need rennet, either rennet that's liquid rennet. I'm going to be using a powdered rennet just simply because that's what I got, but you can use liquid rennet as well. I will be dehydrating this to make liquid rennet. We're going to need cheesecloth, and this is a brand new cheesecloth, and if you're reusing cheesecloth, it has to be disinfected in between, and the best way to disinfect it is by boiling it. Then we have some kitchen utensils, and I don't have any fancy cheese making utensils, so all I have is a spatula because that's what I'm going to be using to cut the curds, slotted spoon, and I disinfected everything in boiling water so everything is nice and clean. Also I have a little measurement spoon, and this is 1/8 because that's how much I'm going to need it. Then I have some measuring cups, and I have a little mold to make the cheese. And this is just the mold where the cheese is gonna go and the press will go on top. Like I said, I don't have any of that fancy stuff. Oh, and I forgot, you're gonna need a thermometer. So either you buy a cheese making thermometer because we're gonna need to see low temperatures, those are the best. But I actually have a electronic thermometer that's gonna give me very precise temperature of the milk. Because remember, we don't want it too hot and we don't want it too cold because otherwise the culture will not work. So thermometer, get one of those for yourself as well. So friends, I put my milk, my raw goat's milk here in the pot, and it's about 1 gallon in here, maybe a little bit more, but it's 1 gallon in here. And I need to bring up the temperature to 86 degrees. So right now it's still very cold because I just took it out of the fridge and it's only showing 50. So I'm going to be stirring this very gently throughout so it warms up. And now the milk warms up quite quickly, so don't walk away from the stove, stay here, and we're going to be making some Colby cheese. I'm not going to use any food coloring. I know lots of Colby cheeses have yellow coloring in it, and it's supposedly even natural coloring. I'm not going to add anything. I'm going to keep just the way it is. It's going to be white Colby cheese. Okay, so 86, 87 degrees, and now I'm going to be adding the culture, and all I need is 1/16 of a teaspoon. Very, very little. And this comes as a powder. So I have a tiny, tiny little spoon here. Okay, and all I'm going to be doing, just sprinkling at the top and giving it a few minutes, you know, about 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes maybe, for this powder to rehydrate from its dry state right on the top of the milk before I stir it in. Okay, 5 minutes passed, and now I'm going to stir this all through the milk. Okay. And I'm gonna put a cover on so it's nicely stirred throughout, so the culture is redistributed throughout all of the milk. Okay, So all I need to do is just put a cover on it and let it rest for 1 hour, just 1 hour. So after about an hour, I need to add a couple of other ingredients. And one of them is going to be calcium chloride. How much? Literally just a little bit, just few drops. So I took 1 ounce of non-chlorinated water, and into that non-chlorinated water, I'm going to be putting 5 drops of calcium chloride. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. All right, let's roll that around. Okay, I'm going to be pouring that into my milk mixture. I'm going to be stirring all of that. Okay, so everything is distributed nicely. I'm gonna let this mix for, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute, and I'm gonna be adding the rennet, and I have powdered rennet that came as an animal source. And because it's in a powder, I also need to rehydrate in the liquid. So I'm gonna take, again, 1 ounce of non-chlorinated water, and we have well water, so it's perfect. And I'm gonna be adding in here, and that's what's actually going to make those curds in the milk. All right, again, I have 1 ounce of non-chlorinated water, and I'm going to take 1/8 teaspoon of my rennet, and it's just going to rehydrate and dissolve in the water before I add it to the milk. All right, just give it a swirl. That should rehydrate pretty quickly. All right, and now I'm just going to be pouring that all over everywhere. All right, and again, I'm going to redistribute that through the entire milk everywhere. Okay, stir everything around, make sure it's everywhere. All right, now the heat is still off. Okay, the heat is still off. Everything is redistributed. Okay, so now I'm gonna put a cover on again, and now I'm gonna allow this mixture to set. Okay, I'm gonna put a timer on for 45 minutes. So I'll see you in 45 minutes. Okay, so 45 minutes have passed, and now it's time for me to check if there is such a thing. It's called clean cut. So I'm gonna take my disinfected spatula, and I'm gonna make a little cut to see if it separates. See, it separates clean, and if I pull away from the wall, I see very clear way over there. Yep. Sometimes you don't get a clean cut after 45 minutes, and let me show you what it looks like. So this recording is from a different day, and I'm putting my clean spatula, and see how it comes up not clean. It still looks milky, and even though I see separation, okay, but it's still super soft, and that happens especially with goat's milk. Goat's milk is a little finicky, not like cow's milk. So if this happens, what I have done, or I'm going to be doing right now, is I'm just going to be giving more time, 15-20 more minutes. I will cover and we'll let this thing do its thing for the next 15-20 minutes. So now, guess what? It's time to start cutting the curds. And they're special, funny, expensive cutters. You can use just knife, or you can use a spatula and just cut in about 1/2 inch little slices, because we're going to be making them across to make little squares, and then eventually we need to cut horizontally as well. Now I don't have any, like I said, I don't have any special cutting tools, so I just used a spatula that has like a an angle, and all I'm going to be doing is just cutting it across diagonally, okay, because I need to cut everything into smaller curds, because smaller curds will release more whey to give us that give me that firm cheese. Okay, see how they falling? So now I'm going to be cutting across. I work kind of fast but gentle at the same time. Listen, I do have to say that I am a beginner at this. You know, I just do this at home. I'm a beginner, I'm a learner, I'm a self-taught. So I don't want to sound like I'm an expert or anything at all. All right, so I chopped everything up into like a little squares, little chunks. Okay. And now I'm going to return back to my slotted spoon, and all I'm going to do is just gently kind of move them around, because by doing that their edges will separate and our cheese curds are going to begin to look like cheese curds. As I'm moving them, if I see a big chunk, I will cut it as well. So what was on the bottom, I'm lifting it up to the top. All right, so I stirred them for a little bit. Now I'm gonna put a cover on and I'm gonna let them rest for 5 minutes. All right, so the timer has told me that 5 minutes have passed, and I see that more whey has separated. Do you see that yellowish liquid? Yay! So now I'm just going to stir this very gently. Okay, and I'm going to turn the heat on, because now at this point I need to raise the temperature from what it is now, which is about 86, 87, up to 102. And I'm gonna put in the lowest possible heat, and I'm gonna continuously stir very gently from the bottom up, just like this. Because this bad boy is gonna take about 30-35 minutes to stand here and stir gently. And what's gonna happen with these curds is that they're gonna become smaller, more firm, I wanna say, probably like more firm, a little bouncy, and they're gonna break down to a small size of a small bean, like a black-eyed pea or something like that. All right, so if you can see, these curds got much smaller, and they bouncy little guys. They're not those squares anymore that they were. Okay, so now the time has come to put it in the mold. So I'm gonna get my mold ready, and I'm just putting it over a colander where the whey will be able to strain, and I'm covering everything with cheesecloth. And I folded this cheesecloth in several layers. I think there's 4 or 5 layers in here. And I also it just fell through. And I moistened it a little bit so it will not stick so much to the cheese, so it's slightly moistened. I just like to get everything ready ahead of time. And I'm gonna gently pour everything into my mold now. There are so many recipes how to make different cheeses, and you know, I think it's a good skill to have, not just on a homestead but for anybody, because if there's, you know, extra milk you have and you don't know what to do with it, you can always learn how to make the most simplest farmer's cheese, or make easy Colby cheese. There's so many cheeses, and then you know exactly what went into this cheese making process. So I'm gonna just dump the rest carefully. All right, so all I'm gonna do now is make sure everything is in here. All right, this is a moist. I'm going to fold it over. Okay, let me strain all of this whey. And like I said, I'm gonna save this whey. Look, beautiful yellowish color that it is. Okay, I'm gonna save this whey because I'm gonna be using some of it to make farmer's cheese. All right, so it's still, oh, come on. It's still sitting over a bowl, and now I need to put some sort of weight on it. Now, if you guys have a cheese press, God bless you, but I don't. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just putting my top over, okay? And this is a half a brick, a small half a brick that has been washed, and I wrapped it in a foil to give a little bit of pressure. And let this strain for about half an hour. Then I will flip my cheese. Now this way I will put in the fridge till next time. I can put it in a jar and save it. Okay, so they've been sitting here for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, about that. And it's time that I actually flip this. So let me see. Look how much more whey came out. Look at that. All right, so let's see if I can flip it in one piece. I know that the curds usually at this stage begin to glue together, but I still don't want them to fall apart. It's still warm to touch. All right, come on. And again, I'm going to put this down. And I'm going to put my cheese down. Oh, don't break, don't break, don't break. All right. Again, I'm going to cover everything. Put my cheese press on, my fancy brick, and let it strain. I just make sure it's nice and even on all sides, and let this strain for another half an hour. Okay, so it's been sitting in this position for about 30 minutes right now, and it's time to flip this cheese one more time in the form. And at this time I'm going to be salting it. I know there are other methods of putting the cheese into the brine. Oh, that's my timer telling me that it's half an hour. I know that there are other recipes where they call you to put your cheese in a brine, but here's the thing, I don't like that method. And I don't like that method because sometimes the cheese actually falls apart and it gains extra fluid, which I'm trying to get rid of extra fluid because I'm trying to make a semi-soft cheese that's not going to be super aged. It's just going to be sitting and aging in my refrigerator for next week or 2 weeks, and then it's ready to be consumed. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to be salting it. Very simple way, and this salt actually will help to withdraw extra fluid out of the cheese. Okay, so I'm taking off my weight. All right, and let's take a look and see if we can flip this one more time. The cheese is cooling off, and something that I've learned is that once it begins to cool off, it will strain less and less of whey. It's becoming kind of on the thin side, but it's okay, my friends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle salt, and I have pink Himalayan salt, and I'm just gonna liberally sprinkle it all over, just like this. It's okay, it's not gonna be over salty, trust me, it's gonna be fine. So it's probably like, oh, that's might be too much over here. Okay, and then I'm gonna be sprinkling some here. So total is about a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon on the bottom, half a teaspoon on the top. Okay? And I'm laying it down again into my mold. All right, just like this. Okay, I'm gonna cover everything with cheesecloth right now, again, just like this. I'm gonna put my weight on again, and I'm gonna leave it overnight. Okay, in the morning, this is what it looks like. Let's take the weight off. Okay. It looks pink because of the salt. Because of the salt we'll put on. And because it's pink, it looks pink. All right, so I'm gonna take this off now. It's not very even because it's homemade. And all I have is the cookie rack where I usually cool off my pastries. I'm gonna line that with a towel, and I'm gonna put this on so it can dry up a little bit before I put it in the fridge. Just like this at room temperature. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this over so the bugs don't come or anything like that, but it still has airflow because this is very thin cotton and there's airflow from the bottom and there's airflow from the top. And I'm gonna let this sit on my counter all day today. And then tomorrow I'll put it in the fridge. Okay, so now we're gonna strain the curds, and we're gonna save the whey though. So I'm gonna show you how to do it. So I have a bowl on the bottom, and then I put a bigger sieve, and this is my cheese mold that I showed you earlier. I'm not gonna line this with cheesecloth at all. Now you may choose to do that, that's fine, but make sure you get the cheesecloth wet first, because then it will not stick as much. Okay, so now I need to transfer all of these curds into my mold. Okay, and they already begin to stick together a little bit. Now guess what? For this particular cheese, I want this cheese to have holes in them. You know, like almost like Swiss cheese, I would say, even though this is not Swiss cheese at all. This is homemade goat's milk cheese, but it's not gonna be that soft cheese that you guys think about. This is gonna resemble somewhat of a Colby cheese, something like that. And it's gonna be quite quick. It will age in about a week and will be ready to be eaten in a week. So now let this bad boy strain. And I'm not gonna put weight on it. The weight of the cheese itself is gonna be its own press. So no press, okay? I'm just gonna put this on top just to keep a shape of it. So it has a shape. All right, so it's straining more. I need to find another container to strain all of this whey. Now, let this bad boy sit here just like this for the next 20 minutes and I will flip it. And I'm gonna be doing this flipping about 3 or 4 times in about 20 minutes to half an hour intervals. All right. Okay, so 20 minutes passed. All right, let's take a look what's in here. Now, listen guys, if I was making this for someone else, or if this was for sale, definitely wear gloves because you don't want to bring any bacteria in here. But my hands are super clean and I'm making this just for my family, so I am not worried. Look at all the whey still draining. All right, so now I'm gonna very carefully flip this over. And it's already holding its shape. See these little spots? And I'm gonna put this upside down now. Okay? Okay, so this has been straining and I flipped it 3 times and now I'm gonna put it in the fridge. So what do? I need to sprinkle some salt on it. I know some people like to put it in a salty brine. I don't do it. All I do is, because I feel like the salty brine will bring more moisture inside. So I just take 1 teaspoon and I sprinkle all the way on top. And then when it's my time to flip it, and I'll sprinkle the other side as well. And this will be enough, trust me, it will be just enough to salt everything through. Okay, so it's been a week and now it's time to taste our cheese, the cheese that I made. And I made 2 different types of cheeses. One cheese I made by using the press, my fancy press. And then the other one, I did not use any press at all, and the weight of cheese itself was pushing the mass down. So I know it's not very long aging process, only a week, but I wrapped everything up in just wrap, plastic wrap, and let's take a look to see what it looks like. Of course, we've been tasting it already. And it's not gonna be one of those very aged cheeses, even though I called it almost like a Colby-like cheese, but it's not Colby-like cheese. So this cheese actually has some sort of, let me cut a slice for you and I'll show you. Look at it. It has holes throughout and it's very pliable. Let's take a look. It looks like cheese. It smells really good. It smells really, really good. Now, I've been tasting it and it's not super salty. If you don't like to use that much salt, you don't have to. You can use less salt, okay? But that's how much salt I like. So this cheese resembles something what we called it Российский сыр, which means Russian cheese. And it has holes throughout, just like this, tiny, tiny little holes. Look at it, it's real cheese. So it's not that soft, spreadable cheese that you're thinking about, the goat cheese that a lot of my American friends know. You can make semi-firm cheese. You can grate it to use in some sort of recipe. You can put it in a sandwich, or you can serve it just with some fruit and nuts. Now this cheese, we pretty much ate all of it. Let's take a look at it. Now this cheese is, I used press, and look, if you compare it, look how much thinner it came out. Okay, look how much thinner it came out, because I used press on it. And there are no holes in this one. And the taste of this is a little bit more smoother, okay? See, it's also soft cheese, but it's not that porous like this one. So I'm gonna just cut a few pieces, okay? And I'm gonna serve it as a snack with some dried fruit, with some apples. It would go very well with nuts and grapes if you have them, really. This is the other cheese I made, and just a few days ago. It hasn't been a week yet. Okay, so I let it sit and dry. I call it drying period, just in my fridge. I don't have a cheese cave or anything like that. So I'm, very low tech. This is a homemade cheese. All right, I'm just gonna cut in half and take a look at it. Yep, look at it. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, it smells very, very mild but fragrant cheese. So here it is, my friends, goat cheese. So let's give it a taste. I'll just have a little tiny piece because I don't like to chew on camera. Very nice. It's very nice. It has a little bit of a bite to it. It has a little bit of salt to it, but cheese is supposed to be salty. And I don't use a lot of salt to preserve it because this is all natural. And trust me, I don't need to preserve it for a long time. It's gonna be eaten quite quickly in my family. We love cheese. It's really, really good. Okay, now let's taste this cheese, the one that's very solid cheese, the one that I used press on. And by press, I mean it's the bricks from the backyard that I washed and wrapped in some foil. That's my press. See, this one has a different texture. It's much, much softer. Oh, it melts in my mouth. It's so good. It's so good. So friends, I hope you are encouraged to make cheese at home. Just don't use the ultra pasteurized milk. Cheese will not come out at all. You can even try making it with store-bought, but the best is farm fresh milk. I know it's not legal in all of the states to buy raw milk. It is legal in my state, but I have my own from my own goat. And one interesting point to make is that growing up, I drank milk every single day, goat's milk every single day, and I hated it, absolutely hated it. It had that very particular goat smell to it, that smell to that milk. But this particular goats that I have, this breed of goats, Boer goats, their milk has no strong smell at all. So it's very mild, very pleasant. And for those who don't like that block of goat cheese that's melty, kind of like a spread cheese that you usually see at the stores, this one is different. This one resembles real cheese. It's a semi-firm cheese, so it's more on a fresh side cheese, but it's absolutely delicious. So friends, I hope you are encouraged to make some cheese, learn how to make cheese. That's an old skill, very old skill, and unfortunately we're losing those skills. So let's learn it and make it at home. Isn't that a great skill to learn? So friends, I hope you're encouraged and try something new.